And this is a store-bought one. It's cast from bronze. And this is a homemade one, made from deer antler. It actually works better than that. It's just a little bit blunt. Still. And a much bigger one for carving. Here's a flat sole, so it's really only good for carving on the outside of the instrument, not the inside. For an inside one, we want what's called a curved sole, because of the nature of the scooping action of the planing. After doing electronics and qualifying in that, in a stint of aircraft engineering, I ended up as a solo parent, and I needed to have a home-based job. And out of all of that, because I had played the violin as a youngster and I'd helped my father in his workshop, I thought instrument repair initially would be the perfect starter into a possible career of being a maker as well. So in the early days, I studied with my father just for a few weeks, and then because he lived in Hamilton, I live where I am now, which is nearly 50 k's away. Wasn't practical to travel all the time, so I learned with him and then pretty much started working on my own. And then once a week I would travel to Hamilton, show him what I'd been up to, and he would critique it, and it just basically went from there. And in fact, his background was initially in accountancy, and then as a 16-year-old, he had a violin that he'd sat on, or someone had damaged it, and he repaired it. And his interest started from that, and I actually have the very first violin that he made, and the second and the third and the fifth. And he started in 1944. While I haven't followed in his path exactly, probably most of what I know now has been passed down from him. Now I'm using European timbers because traditionally types of instruments I make, that's what they've used for the last 3 or 4 centuries, European maples and spruces. I have used other woods which tonally are just as good, and in fact in New Zealand we have 2 tone woods, including one that grows in the scenic reserve right beside me here, which is 1,000 acres, and also on the neighbouring farm. And this is a timber called Mangeao, M-A-N-G-E-A-O. No one knows much about it because it's very regional and only grows in 2 or 3 places in the North Island. But tonally, it's just every bit as good as the the European maple, but nobody knows about it. Normal working day is divided into two parts. One is if we have visiting clients with an issue with an instrument, or two, a day of no clients, in which case we can often do longer term work, in other words carving or being involved in something where you want a few hours fairly much uninterrupted. So, or say if we're doing bow repairs or maintenance or major work where you don't want interruptions, but otherwise the day could involve clients and whatever issues they might have with instruments or bows or whatever. Adjustments are a big part of our daily routine, or can be. And adjustments, I mean, might be minor repairs just from wear and tear, or the instruments might require seasonal adjustment because it's changed shape heading into winter or coming out of winter. A lot of our clients really enjoy that lighter side of things. Instead of being in a stuffy workshop in a big city somewhere, like to come out to the farm, see the farm animals, all the bush as well. Very scenic location where my workshop is.
Do you find the surroundings inspire you?
Hugely important part of my whole lifestyle. You can't be a happy maker unless you're happy in your environment. And I've lived rurally since 1975, just for that reason. I don't mind the city and the noise, but I didn't want to live in it. So I wanted to be out in the country with country sounds in peace and quiet, and that's what I have. And I think I've been a far more successful maker as a result of it. Nowadays, we can buy instruments made in China with the same European materials that I've used for decades myself. We can purchase instruments out of there, China, beautifully made, for not much more than it cost me to buy the raw materials travelling to Germany. So for a lot of professional musical instrument makers, and not necessarily just luthiers, which covers pretty much the bowed and plucked stringed instruments, but into woodwind and brass and across the gamut of instruments, there's some stunningly made beautiful instruments, and so a lot of professional luthiers are hanging their tools up, and others are simply embracing the new generation of makers and taking advantage of the prices and buying them in, setting them up properly, modifying them or whatever, and have businesses based on that. So there wouldn't be a lot of professional makers travelling to Europe such as myself nowadays. And I've spoken with makers from overseas and they're doing other things now. So it's changed the face of the professional maker for sure, with the ease of being able to purchase over the internet, not having to speak to the maker direct or even having to wait. It's just, you can use Trade Me or Google or whatever and buy what you want nowadays pretty much. But having said that, there are still people who want to select their own wood, speak to the maker and have a say in how it's made and where it's made and by whom. But they're in the minority nowadays.
When you were making my instrument, I remember you sent us photos of the process.
That's right.
And seeing those photos, you start to gain attachment and you start to live with what's being created.
The creation of it. Yes, for a lot of people that's really important. And it's sad now. Well, I say sad. It's a generational thing. A lot of people don't place quite that degree of importance on where it came from, or who it was made by, or even how it was made. Whereas a lot of people really liked the process of coming to the workshop, out to the farm, just the environment, choosing the wood, and having a photographic step-by-step record of how it was constructed right through to the finish. And in the case of cellos, mostly, some people wanted all the shavings to make potpourri. So is it a little bit like keeping the umbilical cord? It's all pretty much grassroots based. It is what it is. There's nothing fanciful about it. It's a very practical thing, and everything to do with it is just that. So we take it out of the case and pitch the instrument, and the instrument tells you if it's feeling good or it's having an off day. And so it's about knowing how to remedy that, and also to understand the relationship a musician has with the instrument too, because people are people and instruments are instruments, and both occasionally have an off day, and you hope that doesn't occur on the same day. So sometimes we jokingly say, well, we should be psychiatrists, because it's often the musician that needs the check-up and the adjusting, and not the instrument. But however, that's par for the course, and we don't necessarily tell them that. But so long as we have a happy outcome, it doesn't really matter.